I read a blog post this week by an African-American, I believe, author, who was saying, hey, everybody doing diversity panels, stop doing diversity panels because none of the rest of your panels are diverse because we're all on the diversity panel. That's my layman's sum up of the blogs. And are you okay with that? That's kind of what she said, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I feel like I have a little bit of a horse in the race with the diversity thing. I am a white guy. I am a gay guy. I feel like any of the homophobia I experienced growing up as a kid was firmly rooted in sexism, because if calling someone a girl is the worst name you can think of, then we have a problem culturally. So I wonder if we could speak just a little bit, if you don't know We Need Diverse Books, I want you to tell us a little bit just briefly about what it is, and then talk to me a little bit about the idea, are we ghettoizing our diversity authors onto diversity panels these days?
That started in May 1st will be 1 year since we began, actually, so it hasn't even been a full year yet. But our organization is committed to promoting diverse narratives and amplifying the voices of diverse authors. And we do that through a number of many initiatives that we have, such as like a diversity in publishing initiative, and we have a Walter Dean Myers Award, and we have grants that we are going to be giving out for unpublished diverse authors and many others. If you want to learn more about us, you can check out diversebooks.org, where there's a lot more details about all of our different initiatives. Diversity is integrated, and I think you're right. Putting us into one different separate corner is not the way to go about doing it. I think there is a place to have those conversations,
sure.
And I think that has a lot of value. But if that's the only place that you see a diverse author is on a diverse panel, that's not good. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It needs to be integrated so that not just the people, you're not just preaching to the choir, but you're reaching a wider audience, and I definitely agree with that.
I talked about it in Tucson about the idea of diversity, which is important, but I think also inclusivity, because I think sometimes when we use the word diverse, the question is, what are we diverting from? And so then we're others, right? And so that I have my
That's
own
really
form.
good. I've never thought about it in that terms. You're exactly right.
Like, oh, those diverse authors, like we can do that, But it's important. I think We Need Diverse Books does a really important job of bringing to the forefront authors that were not even presented before. Right. So that were not considered before, or because you hear a lot of people say, well, there aren't enough diverse authors. They're not enough. They're not writing anything. Oh yeah, we're writing. Yeah, we're writing, and so I think We Need Diverse Books is really important to doing that.
In many cases, in all the books that I write, unless there's a character that is of a specific ethnicity, I try not to create one. I want the readers to be able to identify with the character as a human being rather than creating an ethnic idea for who they are, unless it's specific. But in terms of diversity, I mean, I'm a Jewish kid from Brooklyn. That used to be an ethnicity.
Right.
But so I'm representing.
I mean, all of the feedback from this book has just been amazing and just so wonderful and just great. I mean, so many people have come up to me and told me, and told my dad as well, like, thank you for writing this. Someone in my family has this experience, or I've had this experience too, and it's really good that we're finally talking about it, because for so long, I mean, mental illness is kind of pushed, under the table. It's not talked about, and it really needs to be talked about, because there's every family goes through some form of this, whether it's a family member with depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. There's just every family has gone through something similar to this. So
we've had people at signings, both when Brendan's been there and when I've just been signing myself. We were signing the books back in gallery form all the way since November, and people would come around the table with tears in their eyes and give us hugs, thanking us for having written this book. And when we put it out there, you're putting a little bit of your heart and your soul out there, and it's a little scary. So to get that kind of positive feedback and to know what you're doing is helping people really makes it worth it.
Yeah, there's 2 resources in the back of my book that are U.S.-based, Tahiri, the Tahiri Foundation and Unchained at Last. And I was just talking to the Tahiri Foundation a few days ago, and they were saying that they estimate about 3,000 men and women are forced into marriages in the U.S., and that's an underestimation because that's just the amount that's reported. So, and it's also interesting to know, and I put it in my author's note as well, that a lot of people think that this is something that only happens in South Asia or in certain countries, but it's actually a global thing. And when my book deal was first announced and the synopsis was announced, I actually got approached by a Mormon organization that wanted to know when the book would be out because they wanted it. It was like a rescue unit that wanted the books. And so it's really, I mean, my book is very specific because stories have to be specific about one thing. And so my story covers this because I did have some friends who went through similar circumstances, and so that's where this story came from. But it's a global issue. I think the fear was that, this is a very heavy topic, and I'm going to be writing it about Pakistan and about Muslims, and I am Muslim and Pakistani, and I'm well aware of the stereotypes that are out there. And I was afraid because I didn't want to add to that. And so I was afraid of that, but then I also felt like because I'm Muslim and because I'm Pakistani, I love my culture and my faith, I'm going to write it from a different perspective. I'm going to address an issue without vilifying the entire culture and faith, and that's what I hoped I did. And so when the book was published, I was very nervous. I was waiting to see what people would have to say, and the most amazing thing is I've gotten 2 emails from people that have told me I've written their story. They said, it sounds like you wrote my story. And then one person, which was really moving, I mean, very sad, she told me that she thinks this is about to happen to her, and that her parents are telling her they're going to take her back, not to Pakistan, another country, and leave her there until she agrees to get married, and she didn't know what to do. And so, I directed her to the resources in the back of the book, and I just wonder if she hadn't come across it, would she have even reached out to anyone at all? So I mean, just knowing that one person might have found some, I never heard back from her, but just knowing that one person might have found some help it means everything.
I was like super excited, and I thought, my mom's gonna buy it and some friends are gonna buy it, and I'm good. But I started getting emails, and they weren't, at first there wasn't from Latinas. And it was exciting because I didn't know who they were, the people were. So, but it was librarians and telling me I'm a fat girl too, and I so identify with Gabby and what she's going through. And I've been getting a lot of, I used to hide my food for my mom too, and so that's been important because thank you for writing a fat girl who isn't so concerned about being overweight and losing weight to fit in. And so that was important. But this past weekend in San Antonio, I spoke with, it was a mom, she came up and she said, thank you for writing this book because my daughter needs, so she knows what it means to be a Latina, that she can feel secure in herself and that she doesn't have to be what somebody else wants her to be. And so that, I feel like I did my job when I get stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I think some smaller books that write to a very specific issue. I know I've heard from kids who a librarian slipped in the book at school because they were like, "You might need to read this," and those emails are better than any award or any New York Times anything. To know that the reader who needed the book the most found it.
Yeah.
I think is so important.